Welcome to Reality NSFW's coverage of Survivor 42. We are talking episode 2 in the Deep Dive podcast here. I am Alex Rubino, and joining me is my amazing co-host, the one and only Dan Montchal. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great. Fired up to talk season 42. I think we've gotten 2 pretty good episodes so far.
I was less pleased with this one than the first one, but I was still very satisfied. Any overall thoughts on the season before we just jump right in?
I think so far it's going pretty well. I feel like we're getting to know everyone. I think even more so than last season, which was one of the biggest complaints. And I feel like we're getting a lot more backstory from everyone rather than it being focused heavily on a few people.
I've definitely noticed that and have been a big fan of that. Cough, cough, Australian Survivor, wake up. But it's nice to see that for the most part, everyone's getting their fair share. A couple people that I'm still like, I don't fully know you yet, but it's 2 episodes. Give them time. All right, jumping right into this. We start with Ika coming back from Tribal. Zach just been voted out. There isn't much here. We get Romeo saying that all he wants to do is keep Tori comfortable to send her home. And then Tori's actually sad that Zach went home, which is like, oh, the robot's showing emotions. How nice.
Yeah, I think at the time she realized it was either her or him. So obviously it was, well, I don't want to go. But I think when she got to, maybe reflect on it a little bit more, that there was a mistake made where they probably could have worked together rather than her seemingly being on the bottom at this point.
I think we talked about it at length last week, but they both played it pretty poorly. But you know what? Tori's still there. Zach isn't. And I love that that's all we get from Mika. Nothing else. It's just Tori's like, I have a heart. Okay. We then go to Vati, day 4 at this point. Jenny and Chanel encounter a crab. And I love Jenny just not knowing what to do and being like so scared.
Yeah, you could tell it's not all that familiar with it, but which I think is fair because I think majority of us out there, that's great. You got a crab, but now what?
Yeah, exactly. She had the line of "I'm a city girl. I'm trying," which I love. I'm right near New York City. I love that. And then we get a nice little segment with Hai talking about how how being a vegan on Survivor is tough. I believe Shan was a vegan last season. And I don't think it may have just been her. But without having rice, obviously that must be very difficult. And I think the only reason I even mention it is because we get Chanel and Daniel comforting him, and maybe that's something. And then
Yeah,
he eats
I
it.
think at that point, if you're not getting rice and you have no other way of getting any type of food source, because we haven't really seen fruits or anything at this point, like the body needs to eat, and
It does.
there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. I love Hai. I just hope that he's okay going forward and able to either make the decision to not eat and physically sustain himself, or take the guilt that he feels and eat and sustain himself. We'll see.
Yeah, I think like most things in Survivor, it's just where you cross that line. There's a lot of people that come in and, hey, lie, cheat, and steal, whatever it is to win the game, and others won't do it. And I think it's just you kind of have that idea going into the game, and you're going to have to break some rules that you normally wouldn't in your everyday life. And it's just going to come down to, are you okay with that or not?
That's very, very fair. It's so interesting that it's just like, where is that line? Now we have that line with food, and we also we're starting the season with no food rewards. They're like, start with the flint, then the fishing gears. Typically, episode 2. Hopefully, the next episode or 2 they start getting rewards for food. We'll see what happens. But
Yeah, I'd imagine they'd start coming up. I feel like that's even true for most seasons where you don't really start to get a reward challenge till around the episode 3 or 4 mark.
yeah, I'm okay if they keep combining them with immunity challenges. I would honestly love that. But do I get
Well,
what I want? Almost never.
yeah, I think that's why we're getting to see a lot more around camping, really getting to know these characters because we don't need a break for 2 challenges.
And we didn't have 3,000 advantages this episode. Can I say hallelujah to that?
You didn't miss Shipwheel Island? You
No, I
weren't
didn't
longing
miss it.
for it?
Not one bit. Nope, not at all. I thought what we got was great. I'm glad Mike found the advantage. We'll talk about that plenty. But I didn't need all of it. It was simple, easy to follow. I like that. We then go to Taku, and there's one line at the beginning of this whole segment of Marianne swinging a machete that I caught this on my rewatch, and it's Mariah just saying that she feels like crap. And it's getting me thinking it may have been a contributing factor to her going home. We didn't get much of why she went home. So maybe that. And then we get the Marianne swinging machete moment, which I just love. She's like, Jonathan is like moving away. And like, here's Marianne.
I mean, if she's going to do something, she goes full force at it. So you got to respect that.
But I do love that Marianne is like the crazy force for good, if you will. Because if she was like the crazy force for bad, oh good lord, I would be running for my life on that tribe.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Lindsay says Marianne's on 100 all the time, and maybe it's just me. I was thinking of someone that's gonna bite her at some point, and I didn't think it was this quickly, but it seems like it's coming, and she's gonna start wearing on people.
I think it's going to happen. I honestly think that most days people are going to enjoy it because obviously, when you're out there, there's nothing to do. You're starving, you're bored. Someone who's able to keep the positivity, I think that's generally going to be received well. But I do think that, people are going to have the days where they're just miserable and they just don't want to hear it. So
yeah,
I think it's just going to depend on the day.
Yeah. One question I have for you about that is, how does it being a 26-day game versus a 39-day game compare in this instance? Because the one big difference we learned last season is just they're cutting the downtime down. Does that benefit or hurt a player like Marianne, in your opinion?
I think it could go either way. I think it more so depends the people that she's around.
Yeah.
I think overall it'll benefit her because it's not as much time out there where some of the antics, I think if it was stretched out over 3 days rather than 2, could really start to wear on people. But like I said, going back to her being so positive, I just believe that her overall positivity is more of a good thing in a shorter game than maybe it would be in a long game.
I'm with you there, almost 100%. I think if she's with this tribe for only a couple more days, I think she's in a great spot. This game works well. If she's with this tribe for a while, or it was a 39-day game, I think she'd really be worrying on them, and they'd be like, we need to get rid of her. But she's still in somehow. And then we get a nice moment with Omar talking about how he's a Muslim and how he's going to use the beach to pray, and how this tribe of various religions is all supportive of one another. And I just love that. And I think Omar saw what happened in Jackson and how authentic he was before he got sent home, and said he wanted to be that. And I think for anybody watching, we haven't had many Muslims on Survivor, so I think this can be a nice moment for certain people at home, especially.
Yeah, and I think it's nice to get that out there, to talk about it. It opens yourself up more to the tribe. And if he is going to be going and praying, the last thing that you want to have in the back of your mind while you're trying, to connect and have a moment for yourself is, well, maybe, I really need to get back to camp because I don't want anyone to think I'm looking for an idol. So absolutely. I think it was good in a few different folds.
Absolutely. And with the way this tribe is and all being so supportive, I think it's setting a good precedent for them that they're all being very open and authentic with one another. We saw it with Jackson. We're now seeing with Omar. I think this group is now a group of 4 is going to grow very close, and that will definitely help them and hinder them in the game, as it always seems to do once you have a tribe of Kumbaya.
Yeah, I mean, for now, all seems to be well there.
For now, that's the key word of that. All right. Before the commercial, we go to Ika very briefly again. Drea talks about how she's happy to have the extra the amulet in her pocket. She is all loaded up. Roxroy wants to go for Tori. And then we finally get the Women's Alliance that you might have expected in episode 1. And I think it was Tori who's like, oh, you just thought of this now? When Drea comes approaching them. But the interesting thing is she tells them about the extrovert. What do you think of that move from Drea?
There's no need. Why? I don't understand why you need to bring that up. You can easily go and propose an all-women's alliance without it because you're already up in the numbers. So it's not like you're using it to say, hey, if we stick together, we'll be fine. You'll be fine as it is right now. There's no need for that.
Yeah, you have 3 and 5. You don't need to sell an alliance. You shouldn't need to sell an alliance that hard. It should just be okay. We're good. Uh, but
Well, and especially because now, I mean, you see what happens as soon as she walks away. Anytime anyone finds out you have an advantage now, they're immediately a target. It's very rare where this is for us. It's more thought of how can I take that out of play so it doesn't come back to bite me down the road.
this whole topic is so interesting because we hear every season, every player is like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be like that guy and tell them about my idle advantage." But it seems instant. It seems like it's a knee jerk reaction of I have to tell someone, and I get it. You have good news, you want to share it, but just I want to see someone keep an advantage of themselves. Someone say nothing, and let's see how this works because I'm with you there. It was just not smart from somebody who's a really good player, I think, in Drea.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think over the last handful of seasons or whatever, it's very rare that you see someone that gets an advantage that shares it where it actually bonds them together.
I
It's
think, yeah, I can think of Dom and Wendell, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that came to mind was in Winners at War, you have Tony that was helping Sarah go sneak into the other camp knowing that she could
That
go get something, but
that could
it,
work.
it,
Yeah, that's a
it's
fair
just
point.
it almost never happens. There's
Yeah.
way more examples of it not working out
Well,
well than there are where it turns
and
out positive.
that's a case where they had already played together in the previous seasons. They know each other. They literally know each other. Not to
Yeah, there's already an established
use that
relationship.
line, but all right. The other interesting moment of the episode, I think, really is when we go to Vati and Mike finds the Beware advantage. We finally got that, um, and he obviously takes it because none of these players can see an advantage that says the word advantage and leave it, even if there are words on it that say to leave it. Um, and like last season, he's without a vote. So there's the little rub. But I like this phrase. I think they've gotten better in the first department. There's such grace in the game of soccer, it makes me cry. And I love that line from Mike about how he coached football and would tell his players to not act like soccer players and all that.
I can only hope that at some point earlier in the season when they are getting to know each other, he talked about how much he hates soccer. That's my only
Oh
hope.
God, that would be me out there. That would be me because I identify with like. No offense to people who like soccer out there. It's just not my game. Like I don't like playing it. I'll be goalie and that's it. And then watching it very occasionally. It's not my game, and it'd be like, oh great, I have to talk about soccer
Yeah.
or golf. Golf would be worse for me.
Yeah. So I either hope that that happened, or if not, there's people that are, at the merge or whatever that are coming up and asking about soccer's favorite teams and things like that. And Mike's just like, well.
That's another thing you should study. Study sports teams so you at least know a little bit. But I don't know if he did. But Mike has the point of he's going to focus on relationships now that he doesn't have a vote. But before we get to anything he does, we go to Taku very briefly, and we get the budding bromance of Jonathan and Omar. What did you think of it? What do you think of these two, and how open their odd couple duo is in this group of 5 that is now 4?
I mean, I don't think there was anything wrong with how open they are, because I feel like as you're looking, as much as you want to say, I want to have relationships with everyone, I think if you're out there and you're watching people, you're going to be able to tell who people are gravitating towards more. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. And plus, I mean, anytime you get, that odd bromance going on, I feel like it always makes for good TV.
It makes for good TV, but if I'm out there, either I'm in the odd bromance and I'm hoping nobody catches on, or I am on the hunt for that. I am absolutely on the hunt for it because you see it time and time again that it's not that odd anymore. It really isn't, and I'm wondering when it's going to bite players in the ass.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of, as you'd mentioned, like Dom and Wendell, which, that's going back a handful of seasons now, there really isn't that many other time where the odd bromance makes it to the end. Like eventually it gets taken out, or, one of them turns on the other. If you were going to do like, maybe not odd, but think like Shannon Ricard last season.
Yeah, no, I'm focusing specifically on the city guy and the country bumpkin, like the JT and Steven that we like people are trying to do, or like everyone's like, "Oh, the odd pairing. We're so different. We never worked together." Like Elizabeth and Lyrsa. Even on that season, Nick and Christian. You get obviously JT and Steven are the original, but like you keep going with pairs like this that think they're doing something original, and people still aren't catching it. So I guess it works. But I'm really curious to see one day when does the line run out on this?
Well, I think you're always going to have that comes up because people are just naturally going to gravitate to certain people. And I
Oh,
think it just solely depends how we're shown. I mean, I get it isn't the bromance, but I
yeah.
mean, you have like a tight two last season of Erica and Heather, and we never see it. We know nothing about it. So I think it's
Who?
just, yeah,
Rubino? What?
how they show it, and pair it to the audience.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I'm curious, and I always am of the I'm always the fan of don't make it so obvious, but maybe it'll work out for them. And then we get Jonathan talking about how he's not really with Mariah, and then we get Mariah's really sweet story about how close she is with her brother who passed in March 2020. Um, Amazing that he was the first healthcare worker to die of COVID. And I remember when they put his picture on the screen, I'm like, I've seen that guy before, and now I remember where. And
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go
and
ahead.
I love that necklace she has of him. It's so sweet. She did not end up leaving it there. I found out she said like something along the lines of it didn't feel right to leave it before she went to tribal. So that's why if you see her wearing it when she got sent home, it wasn't because she was so blindsided. It was because she chose not to.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice story. It's adding, a little bit more of the character to Mariah because unfortunately we don't get a lot out of her. So it is nice, that you're getting to know her a little bit better. And obviously that's a story that needs to be aired.
Absolutely. It does. I'm glad it was. And I wish we got a little more Mariah, but you know what? I'm glad we got that at least. And she talked about how she's like held her breath for over a year because she needs to be that strong motherly figure to her kids, but she's out here to get some closure. And I really hope she got that, even though she only played 5 days. All right. And then we get to my favorite part of the episode, and this is back at Vati. We get Mike on the Beware Advantage train of telling people, then losing it, then finding it, then everything's going haywire.
I mean, they knocked it out of the park in casting with Mike.
They
That's
really they knocked it out of the park.
fantastic.
Oh my god, he's fantastic. And he's in my home, he's in my town. I want to run into him on the street so badly. But
Yeah, the whole scene of him losing the idol is just, I guess that's notes, if you're out there before, just make sure we have a little bit more of a landmarker if you're going to hide an advantage.
yep, and then we see the preview for next episode. He's lost it again. I don't know much. I'm not gonna buy into it that much, but I'm willing to bet he forgot where it was and then was like, "Oh, it's here." But I love this. So he tells Jenny, who's his number one ally, about it because he figures I don't have a vote. Let me tell someone. And then the interesting thing is, he's like, "I want to make an ally. Let me tell Daniel. He's smart." Mike, no. This to me was danger, danger, danger. All over. No need for it. But what do you think about him telling Jenny and Daniel?
Once again, I didn't like it. I mean, there was no need at this point. It's not like there was a pending tribal coming out where his vote was going to come into play. Like, he's assuming that he lost it, but I mean, you never know. What if everyone goes and says the phrase at the first tribal? Like, so he hasn't officially lost his vote yet. So I just don't think there's any need for it. I mean, I guess if he was going to tell Jenny, I can give him a pass for that. But I don't understand if it's someone that you're not lockstep tight with. Why tell someone, hey, I have an idol and can't vote?
I think there is merit to mentioning it to Jenny at least because you're on a tribe of 6. One vote is huge, and if you, the only way it works out for you is if the vote is unanimous and you're not getting sent home. That's the only way it works without telling anybody. Because if it's any other outcome and you don't vote, you are screwing somebody over, maybe yourself even. And then your allies are like, "Why didn't you tell us? How we could have prepared so much better for this vote if you had told us." And yes, it makes it maybe you, But I don't know. It's such an interesting dilemma. Do you tell someone? I agree telling Daniel was stupid. Telling Jenny, I can go back and forth on.
I guess one of the ways that it would make sense is it kind of seemed, specifically from what we saw in episode 1, that everyone was kind of pairing off, like it was almost like 3 sets of pairs on that
Yeah.
tribe. And so if it was going to Jenny, be like, hey, what's going on? Like, we really need to pick which side we want to go with and go and lock down that 4-person. That way we'll be safe.
Yeah, I maybe they showed that, and if they go to tribal, could just be that very obvious, and they don't want to show it. I don't know, but we'll see. We get one of the funnier moments where Mike is like trying to show Daniel where it is, and he can't find it, and Daniel is just like, "You've got to be kidding me! Who is this guy? Why am I trying to work with him?" And then I love Daniel's just like, "Oh, I like this twist." And Mike is like, "Really? You like this twist?"
I mean, if he wants to make sure that he gets some airtime, I guess that's a good way to go about it.
Fair enough. That's a good point. I didn't even consider that. I do love that, but that would so be me out there. It'd be like I would just be not having it. I'm like, no, this is not a good twist. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
They're not going to show that on air, Alex.
If I have the advantage and someone says they like, I don't care. I don't care. I would be the one who get the advantage and would complain about it. I'd be like, this is stupid, and maybe they are, maybe they don't. But Daniel tells him to not activate it because, as far as he knows, he's safe. So why bother? And then he goes to Chanel and tells her about it because Chanel is Daniel's number one. And they agree to convince him to not get it so that they can vote him out potentially. And I'm just like, if this works, holy crap.
Yeah, this was a great move by Daniel here. I think he plays it perfectly. He's going is obviously he got the information, which he was lucky enough that Mike shared with him. But being, hey, if we go around this route, only A, is it not activated, which could potentially not activate any of the idols, and it gets not just one but multiple idols just not become in play this season. And I mean, that completely changes things when you think of the seasons lately where it's all idol heavy. And if they would be able to do this to knock out not just Mike with his, but 3 idols in one go, I mean, that's massive.
I love that. I'm just worried it's a bit of overplaying on Daniel's part. It is day 5 at this point.
I mean, I think it depends on what he kind of sees going up for the next stage of the game. If he sees Mike being a part of his plans, then maybe, it makes more sense to keep him around. But if he never sees himself working with Mike, then I don't think it's necessarily that bad if he's only having this conversation with Chanel, who seems to be the person that he's tight with on that tribe.
I don't mind him having the conversation. I think I more mind the whole, this is where her head's going right away. And maybe, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant on the overdoing it right away because I think that is such a thing that gets players. But we'll see. We'll see if it even matters. They could have just been showing us this whole thing for nothing. But we then go to the immunity challenge. And the first thing is Marianne has a crush on Zach.
The love story that could have been the next Candace and Billy Garcia, as Zach was fantastic on social media with it.
Oh, my God. Yeah, if you don't follow Zach on Twitter or Instagram, go do it. He's hilarious. I've been sent some of the pictures and tweets he's made about it. It's very funny. And I love Jeff who's saying it, his line of, as someone who loves love, I just want you to keep hope alive. I love that. Ironic that I love that, but oh, Jeff.
I mean, he saw his moment. He was seeing, some flashbacks to the Jeff Probst show days and being like, this is my time to shine.
He's like, I could talk about love without a loved one's visit. This is great.
Yeah,
I get to say love.
He's all for it.
Oh, Jeff. All right. So they're playing for a fishing kit. Daniel sets out. And honestly, with the blindfold challenge, one of my favorite challenges ever, this is the challenge I am begging to sit out if I am on the season.
There are no good roles in this. So either A, you're the caller, so it's all the pressure's on you, or B, you're blindfolded and you're likely to either get hit in the head or a shot to the nuts. So there really is there's no positive here.
There is no positive, and I remember what this got me thinking of was the Survivor All Stars version of this, and they've toned it down considerably, thank God. But the All Stars version, I'm like, Big Tom probably got a concussion. They were carrying these gigantic cubes, and I just remember Richard Hatch and Alicia screaming at the top of their lungs to try to get people to move, and then Big Tom just getting clocked in the head like 4 times and probably got a concussion.
Yeah, no, this is what scares me, because I know if I were ever in this situation, is I'd have to be someone who's blindfolded, because I wouldn't imagine that my voice would be, so distinct that it would be, oh, you're the caller. And then B, my depth perception also isn't great. So wouldn't be, good at this. So I'd just be like, well, I hope we have an advantage so I can sit out. If not, this is just going to be pain and misery. And
I might honestly, like, I know the logic is to be blindfolded, but I hate being blindfolded so much. Even for like 5 seconds, I'm like, no, let me see. I might be like, you know what? I will be the caller, and I would be like using every inch of voice I have and praying that we win. But I don't know. I don't love the challenges that much, but I love this one. I can watch this again and again and just laugh.
Yeah, no, I think this is one of the classics that maybe you don't want to do it every season to overdo it, but it's nice when you see it every few.
Yep. And there are a couple people, like, there are moments that we can think of for the Blindfold Challenge. I think of Michelle with David Wright just screaming that he's right. David, you're right. And I don't know why from Game Changers, I remember Suri just screaming at Ozzy. Ozzy, move.
I mean, the one that comes to mind the most or whatever is, of all seasons, Fiji, where Michelle Yee falls off the platform and then gets back up and continues going again.
I forgot about that. Oh, Michelle Yee. I still don't know why they had her calling, but you know what?
Pretty sure they won the challenge. I think it worked out.
Maybe yeah, it's so weird. I'm like, you know what? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Was that ever mentioned? Michelle Yee's being very loud, but okay. But I do love, like, early in this challenge, Jeff is talking about how hard it is, and he's like, people calling everyone. I'm talking, and I just love it. He's just like making fun of himself. Just feel like, yeah, I know, I'm making it even harder for these guys.
Yeah, I think that's what you want is, he says it, but, secretly, he's giggling in the back, like, dark part of his mind, because he knows that, you already have 3 people screaming, then with all the other additional noise, like, good luck.
Yeah, I think Daniel was just like, oh, I have no idea what's going on. And there's a moment Rockstar gets hit in the balls, and Daniel literally says, I'm quoting him, you got to protect the balls, Rockstar.
Yeah, he had his few good pieces of commentary from the bench, which is, that's where I'd like to be. I think that's where I'd thrive.
You know what, Dan, you and I are sitting at the bench side challenge together, being like, we're not in this. But yeah, no, it's just like, Jeff, can we have a conversation? Can we talk?
Yeah, no, I'm just happy that Daniel seems to be going pretty well, because, as someone who is also a former Daniel, there's not been a lot of good people with my namesake that have been on the show.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see a positive influence happen. I fully expect it to be crushed and him blindsided before, in the next few episodes, but I'm holding out hope that this is the one. Like,
hey, you know what?
This is the promised one.
He's already an upgrade. He's already an upgrade for your namesake, and I think there was a reason he went with Daniel, and the show went with Daniel.
Well, I'd even thought about that in the past. obviously, I've never been on it, never been all that close to or whatever, but I even had it. I was like, I hate going by Daniel. It's something that only my family they're the only ones that call me that. I think if I got on Survivor, it's what I go for, because
Would
just
you
don't
go
want
Danny,
to be
maybe?
No, I won't go Danny.
Fair enough. My namesake has, I think, been on Survivor once, and he wasn't very good. So,
Fiji, right?
Well, yeah. Well, and Australia, but we don't talk about the guy from Australia.
That's fair.
He didn't do very well either. But Vati wins. Ika comes in second, and Lydia kicked ass in this challenge. She was an amazing caller.
Both y'all bitches come here.
I also, one thing I love that they've done with it the last few times is having the players do the puzzle blindfolded. I love that little addition. I love Lydia just dragging them like school children through the maze. Get down now. and then they have to do the puzzle. It's just a nice little bonus to me, rather
I
than
mean, it was
take the
going
blindfold off and go.
a lot better than Jonathan on the puzzle of saying it's like a pizza or literally pointing at it. It's like you can see that they can't see where you're pointing at. Like, this isn't going to do anything.
Over there. What? Where, Jonathan?
I don't know why you went with like a pizza rather than circle.
You know what? Fine. If you want to say it's a pizza, fine. Also, if my pizza's cut like that, I'm getting a refund. I'm getting a refund. I'm sorry. My pizza should never be cut that way.
But I mean, it was good, and it's one of the ones where, you know, it really came down to the end. It looked like it could have gone either way. I mean, we can always be fooled by editing, but that's the way that it appeared.
Yeah. Personally, I'm happy Vati won again. I love that group of six so much. I want them to stay in tag. Ika getting a win, good for them. And then we get Marianne as they're leaving, talking about how she's about to go on the worst first date ever. Which, not the analogy I would go with.
No.
Really not the one I'd go with, but okay. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's Marianne for you.
No, I think, I just think it's something that it's who she is. She just doesn't want to go to travel, which is understandable.
Yeah. And you know what? We don't get Chipwheel Island now. We literally go straight to camp. We see the debate.
And I think one of the other things was we were talking earlier about how we're really getting to know the cast, and, you know, people are obviously going to have their favorites or, you know, tribes that they're rooting for. But I think it is beneficial when you get to see multiple different tribes go to tribal in the first few episodes, because that's where I think was something that hurt last season was we were seeing a lot of UA in the beginning, because you always need that segment right before tribal to go to whoever's, you know, voting someone out.
Yep. Absolutely. Although I'm okay if Vati doesn't go, just because they're all precious in my opinion. But we go to Taku, and honestly, I think we've gotten a little bit of everyone except Lindsay. I don't think we know much of Lindsay, but the other, I guess, 5 on that tribe, if I'm counting Mariah and Jackson, I will say they've all gotten a decent edit. We start with Jonathan and Omar. That's why we got the Bromance earlier, because they're the ones debating, is it going to be Mariah or Marianne? And then they actually bring up the Shot in the Dark, which has gotten more play this season than the entirety of last season, and we are 2 episodes in.
Yeah, and I think, like, I mean, we're getting the, you know, more, it's focusing in on that bromance or whatever. And this is just a guess. I could be completely off, but I think Lindsay's more tightly aligned with that group of 2 than we're getting. I think because it almost seemed, you know, from what we were seeing, is that maybe she was put on babysitting duty for Mariah, you know, before tribal, because he saw them walking around together. But who knows? It's just one man's guess.
That's actually not a bad idea. I was thinking, like, where is Lindsay in this whole thing? And I think it might have just been keep Mariah and Marianne to an extent at bay. But then we get Mariah pitching Marianne pitching Mariah, nothing really happening. Marianne talking about how she doesn't know if she has a vote, and then she goes to look for an idol, which everybody loves. That's everyone's favorite thing to see, right? The paranoid person going to look for an idol.
I mean, you know what's happening out there. You know, everyone's looking for their, you know, moment where they're alone, where they're getting it, and it's just sometimes you get caught.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit better than that, Marianne. Come on, right before tribal. Come on.
I mean, but audience. If she knows she's one of the 2 names that's potentially out there,
I know.
As long as it was taken in, like, sequence is taken in order that this is when it was found, I think you get a little bit of a pass if it's right before tribal and you know that your name's out there. But I mean, yeah, you can't get caught doing this.
All right, you know what? Fair. I'll give her a little bit of a pass. But still, I'm not too thrilled with it. Lindsay talks about she's worried about Marianne cracking under pressure, which may be foreshadowing for later in the season. And the only other thing we get, I thought it was a very short segment before trial over, is like, I trust Mariah more, but I know Marianne's better physically. And then we go to the vote. And did you gain much from this little pre-tribal strategy sesh? Because I didn't really get anything. I thought it was
I honestly think that it was pretty lockstep that it was going to be Mariah.
I bet.
And they were kind of just trying to grasp at straws to show some misdirection or potential other vote, but I honestly think that it was going to be Mariah, and there really wasn't that much of a debate for it.
I'm with you there. Going into tribal, I'm like, it has to be Mariah, right? We've been shown so much of Marianne through 2 episodes. I really doubt it's where we got just enough of Mariah where it made sense, and then we get the obvious, but we go to
Yeah, and I
tribal.
mean, even when you look at her story, which is it's a touching story about her brother, we already touched on, but I'm nervous anytime where it's someone early on where you
Yeah,
get their personal story in the episode. It's like, oh no, like,
especially if that's like the first thing we get of them.
yeah.
But it's like, oh, who's Marianne? Oh, I'm sorry, who's Mariah? That's who Mariah is. Oh no. Kiss of death, here we come. But now we go to tribal. The first thing Omar says, it's unbelievable, but like that he's at tribal, but like we're losing a family member. It's day 5. Family. Like,
I
help us
feel
make
like
sense.
that's just something that you talk up. Like,
I mean, this group at Taku feels a little bit closer than groups in the past I've seen, but
I think they
family.
bonded a lot over the whole Jackson situation
I
with
think
him
they did,
going. I
yeah.
think that was something that brought them together. And it seems like, I mean, we saw Jackson was the one that in episode 1 that told his story. But I'm sure that after that, there was probably a few others that maybe, shared more of their story.
Yeah.
That my guess is that's what bonded them maybe deeper than what you generally normally see on day 5. But
That's very fair. Uh, Mariah agrees with Omar. Omar then mentions Darwin's theory of natural selection. Another callback I did not expect. Um, and then Jeff is just kind of confused by that. And he's like, all right, Jonathan, talk. I need my alpha male. Talk.
well, yeah, I'm surprised we're not having fed more Jonathan because he's really like the only person that's just probes kind of guy out there.
Yeah, Jonathan talks about strength coming in many forms, basically saying there's me and there is the brain. And
Yeah,
remember, I'm here.
well, and I think that that's good for Jonathan as
Yep.
far as going further down and just being like, hey, strength doesn't have to be just brute force. There's a lot of other strengths in this game that can be dangerous or valuable to a tribe or
Yeah.
detrimental, however you want to word it.
It's a double-edged sword. I think it's good and bad that he's mentioning. More good, I would say. Lindsay talks about how it's tough to balance being trustworthy versus having paranoia. Uh, and then we get Marianne for the first time. And she talks about, Jeff asks her about the shot in the dark, and she starts going into plans and subsections, and Mariah is there looking like, oh my God. And Jeff has his eyes wide open, and everyone's confused. And they're just like, that's Marianne. We love her.
I was gonna say, I just think that's who she is on top of being positive, is she's just over explanatory. Like just, hey, this is all my reasoning. I'm gonna spit it out to you whether you're asking for it or not.
I kind of love it. Like, she's getting the edit a little bit. That reminds me of like the older person who's more aloof sometimes, like a Tarzan, for example. That like, although she's a lot more aware of what's going on, but just sometimes like the person who's saying things that the other players are just like not getting, and like, oh, that's just a them thing.
Yeah, I mean,
So not expecting
I,
to Marianne to Tarzan, but here we are.
I mean, I think that's exactly what Jeff wants at tribal. Is he wants someone who, because like you always hear about being guarded, you don't want to let the plan out. So if Jeff has his go-to person to call that'll just talk, I mean that's he loves it.
I would love it too if I'm there because it means I don't have to talk. And I'm like,
Yeah,
great,
no, absolutely.
great. Dig your own hole. I will stay here and shut up. Uh, Marriott also just realized she's playing Survivor. Good, good. It's day 5. Good job. Then we have a long tangent about her and Love and Zach's mentioned again. And I bet Zach is like, they can't stop thinking about me. I'm still here. Yay. And I'm happy for Zach because I love him. But
Yeah, of course, anytime that love's brought up, Jeff's gonna poke at that at tribal. That's just it's a given.
also, Marianne move. Zach is mine. But I'm kidding, of course. But I do hope to meet him one day. Seems like a great guy to just talk about Survivor with all day long. And because there are not many people in my life who can do that, I'm sure, Dan, that's very similar for you. Yeah. Anyone who is just a big fan that will talk about Survivor, I'm here for.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
we get a little bit of Mariah talking about how part of her journey is that she's putting herself first. Very sweet. Lindsay mentions how we have to balance relationships in the personal game. And then Jonathan's like, oh, it's simple. We have to play the game, but also I like everyone. Nice and simple. And Jeff's like, it's simple?
I honestly didn't like Mariah's answer though, and I know they were talking a little bit on the reaction show, Johnny, Matt, and Alex, but just saying I'm not here for I'm here for myself, and I don't think that's necessarily what you want to say before going into a vote where you're on the block, because you don't want someone who's just there simply for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, every player is there for themselves, but again, I'm with them on it. You don't want to be overly making it look like you're there for yourself. You want to be like, I'm here for everyone and the experience and blah, 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 blah. But I think for Mariah, it doesn't hurt her as much as it does another type of player, I should say.
No, and because we mentioning earlier, or whatever, I think she was done at this point. I think it was a pretty clear cut decision that there wasn't anything that was going to be said that was going to change at Tribal.
No, and it did not. We go to vote. Marianne gets her extra vote. Mariah plays the shot in the dark. The only interesting thing is that she hands it to Jeff, whereas the other players just read it on their own. Don't know why. Maybe Jeff was like, this is better if I read it. She's not safe. We're 3 for 3 in terms of people not being safe. And then Mariah is the second person to ever go home unanimously in 2 weeks. Mariah gets all 5 votes. She says that she love you guys, bring it home. And that's Mariah. Mariah is out of the game. Our third boot, second vote. Any final words on her?
No, I mean, she seemed like a sweet, nice enough person. We didn't get to know her too much outside from the story with her brother, which, would have liked to see a little bit more there, get to know her more, not more from her, but get to know her more. But
yeah.
I mean, when you go out in episode 2, I guess, they can't waste too much time telling that person's story, but I don't know, just didn't fall her way this game.
I'm really with you there on it. I will second everything you said. Then we get right away. I don't know. This was another interesting thing they did. We didn't cut to commercial. We just finished the episode and we go right into the preview and the final words. I don't know if they'll continue that. I didn't mind it. But we get Marianne finding the Beware advantage, Mike losing it again. I don't know if that's real or just he lost it for 5 seconds. And then we get a challenge stopping. They say they've never done it before. My guess is the challenge stops and doesn't restart. I don't know. And then Mariah says her brother would be proud. I'm going to keep mixing up those names. Thank God one of them is gone, so I don't do that. And then we get a nice little shot of thank you to the healthcare workers. Anything from the episode preview or final words you want to touch on?
I mean, anytime you get something in the episode preview, I always take it for a grain of salt because, we'll see what happens with the challenge, if it's really something that we've never seen before. But I feel like a lot of the times, it's misdirected to keep, people interested in it. I think rarely do you see something in a preview where it actually becomes this big narrative part of the episode of the season.
I completely agree with you. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, but figure we cover the episode, might as well mention it. All right. Anything else you want to add before we take a break and then come back to rate our final 15 players?
Let's go hear about Blue Chew.
All right. Let's do it. Bye.
Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck.
Researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great, and it's convenient and discreet. Products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, or even in the gym.
I am so happy that Lucy is sponsoring us. Ever since they came on board, I have gotten no less than 5 of my friends transitioned over to Lucy and put their cigarettes down. They like the gum. I'm used to seeing the packages all around. This stuff is great, and it's really helping people make much healthier choices. So get on board and join the Lucy movement.
Hey, it's 2021. Get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple that you don't even have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down.
Reality NSFW listeners, go to lucy.co and use promo code SURVIVOR to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co and use promo code SURVIVOR at checkout. Also, I have to give this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's lucy.co, and be sure to use that promo code SURVIVOR.
This episode of Reality NSFW is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us, Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom by offering chewable tablets that can help men get stronger and longer lasting erections. That's right, we're giving away super hard dicks.
Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men achieve harder, stronger erections to combat all forms of ED.
Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor offices, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it's all done online.
Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problem here. Blue Chew's sildenafil and tadalafil tablets are chewable. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy.
Hey, if you're looking to give that immunity idol to someone, or you don't want to be voted out of a crater, don't worry, Blue Chew's got you covered. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information.
And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use promo code SURVIVOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's Blue Chew, BlueChew.com, promo code SURVIVOR to receive your first month free. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
We're all trying to eat better, but healthy breakfast doesn't have to be boring. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you love, but without all the bad stuff. And it's amazing as a midnight snack right before bed.
0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. That's only 140 calories per serving.
It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. And build your own box. Available flavors to build your very own custom bundle are cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon, cookies and cream, and my favorite, maple waffle. Now, Magic Spoon recently brought back their 2 super popular flavors, cookies and cream and maple waffle. Thank goodness, but they're back permanently. And when these flavors were first introduced for a limited time, they sold out extremely quickly. Now, I'm here to let you know you can get them again or try them for the first time. Why? Because they're delicious and indulgent.
Johnny, Magic Spoon has so many great flavors that I really enjoy, and even my kids enjoy them. We have the cocoa, fruity frosted, peanut butter. All these are really great combinations. They enjoy waking up in the morning and getting some Magic Spoon right off to start their day great before they head off to school. I think everybody listening should give Magic Spoon a try, or if you've tried them already, it's time to reorder. Let's get you some more Magic Spoon and get your day started right.
Hey, when I finish a podcast late at night, the first thing I'm thinking is not sleep. It's let me grab a delicious bowl of Magic Spoon before I go to bed.
So go to magicspoon.com/survivor to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code survivor at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/survivor and use the code SURVIVOR to save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this podcast.
All right, we are back. Dan, are you ready to rate our final 15 players?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, so let's start off with the tribe that continues to win, the tribe that is fully intact. That is good old Vati. And let's start with Chanel. Why don't you start with Chanel?
We haven't got to see a lot of her yet. I mean, I do have high hopes. I mean, we really didn't see her at all this episode outside of her conversation with Daniel. But I'm going to put her, I think for now, at a 6. But I think she has huge uprising potential.
All right. I've gone up to a 7 on Chanel. And the reason I did is we still haven't got much from her. But she's in a good spot, and she has all the info without anybody knowing that she has the info. Dan has info, but people know that he has the info. She's in the spot that you want to be in, being told everything that's going on, but no one knows she has it.
Absolutely.
All right. Next up is Daniel, speaking of which.
My name's
I had Daniel at a 4 last week. I'm going to go up to a 5 tentatively because I think Mike telling him about his advantage is really huge. Maybe making another ally. If he blows it, I'm concerned. But I think he's in a good spot. Chanel likes him a lot. No one seems to want to get rid of him, but we also don't know what that tribe would do if they go to tribal. So that's why I am going to have Daniel at a 5. What say you?
I have him at a 7.
Whoa. All right.
I think
Is it biased because of the namesake? Why? Why do you have him at a 7?
It is not because of the namesake. Maybe that bumped him from a 6 to a 7. But I honestly think, no, I think he's in a good spot because he has this information. Mike wants to work with him, as part of the reason of trying to bring him in. You see that he's still tight with Chanel. I just don't see him being in danger right now. Now, like I said, because he is cursed with our the name that we both share, I fully expect this not to go well for him, but I'm rooting for him. And I think he's put himself in a good spot right now, as long as he doesn't do anything too chaotic in the next episode.
That's fair. He's in a good spot. Actually, you know what? I'm going to bump it. I'm going to say 6 for Daniel, but moving on, we have High, who I love. We got the moment about him being vegan this episode. Not much else. I'm going to say 5. I'm going to have him at a 5. That's the reason I bumped Daniel up a little bit. I think High is in a fine spot. Not in a great position, not in a terrible one. He's obviously very smart. His tribe seems to care about him. I don't have much else. I think if he is in the game for a while, can make a deep run, but where he's at, middle of the road for me right now.
Yeah, I'd have him at a 6, I guess slightly higher, but I don't think he's in any danger right now. I think that, he's put himself in a pretty decent situation. And yeah, I have nothing bad to say about High. I think we haven't done anything that would hint that things could go wrong. Now, obviously things change all the time, but I have him at a 6. I think he's in a pretty good spot with also having a pretty decent upside to come down the road.
All right. Well, maybe you can say something bad about our next person. That's Jenny. What do you have to say about Jenny?
I'm not going to say anything bad about Jenny.
Good, because I would hate you if you did.
She was when I was on last week with Lauren and Sarah on Ladies' Night, and they put me on the spot for a winner pick, and Jenny was the one that I picked.
You didn't prepare for a winner pick.
I did not this season. I had a lot going on. All right, it'd been a busy few weeks.
Okay, I had a busy. You always make a winner pick, Dan.
I was talking about based off of episode 1.
That's not a winner pick. That's an episode 1 pick.
I say who I think would win from episode 1. Now, once again, I fully expect this not to go well because my winner picks never do.
No, they don't.
But I have Jenny at a 6 as well. I think she had a pretty good first episode. The only thing that worries me is that she appears to be really good at puzzles, and I think that that'll be recognized at some point. But I think as of right now, I feel pretty good about her.
Okay. This is the first time that we agree. I have Jenny at a 6 as well. I think she's in a really good spot. Mike told her about the advantage. Doesn't seem like she's a big threat to go home, although she is a bit older than the rest of her tribe, except Mike, which could make her a little bit of an outsider, but she's tight with Mike. Her and Chanel seem to get along. I don't have much bad to say about her. I'm with you on the puzzles, but we'll see if it comes back to bite her. However, someone who would be really afraid of things bit her, and really of anything that is out there, that's Lydia. Why don't you start with Lydia?
I have Lydia at a 5. I mean, we saw that she obviously has this pretty strong personality, and we haven't seen it rub anyone the wrong way. I thought she was great on, as we touched earlier, on her role as the caller. But I don't really have anything that I think points upside, but I also, that we've seen so far in the seasons anyway. Pre-game, I think there was some more stuff to like. But then I also don't think there's anything that points down arrow either. So I have her right at that even, or it's not even, but right in the middle 5.
Once again, we agree. I don't have much to say about it that's good or bad. The only thing I can say is that you haven't said is that if this tribe goes to tribal, and for some reason Mike isn't sent home, I could see it being Lydia just based on who's with who and who will fight for who. Like, I think Chanel and Daniel will fight for each other. I think Jenny and Mike will fight for each other. I don't think Hai and Lydia are fighting for each other that much, at least not right now.
No, I think Hai would go where the numbers would fall if that's how it would be.
I don't think there's much loyalty there. And last but not least is my Hoboken buddy, the guy I love. It's Mike. And I've dropped Mike to a 4. He found the beware advantage. That's good. He didn't think about it. Maybe not great. And then he loses. He's without a vote. He told Jenny, good move. And then he told Daniel, who Daniel might now has a reason to get rid of him. Chanel knows that he has the advantage and that he doesn't have a vote. He does not know that she knows that I love Mike. I'm worried for him, though, so I'm going to put him at a 4 right now.
I agree again. Also have him at a 4. I think it's just it was just too loose lips with finding the beware advantage. I don't want to see him go. I'd like to see him stay for quite a while because I think he's just absolutely great on TV. But I think of right now, he's in the worst spot, not only because he doesn't have a vote, but because there is a potential plan to get him out. And that's the only person that we've really seen that has an exit plan for him on this tribe that we've seen.
Yeah. I mean, it's early. They haven't gone to tribal, but if you're one of the first plans, it's usually not a good thing.
Yeah.
So I'm worried for Mike, but we'll see what happens. Next up, moving over to Ika, it's Drea. I have Drea at a 5. I had her at a 7 last week. I thought she was playing the best game of anybody. And then she goes and says, you know what? I want to make an alliance that I can make easily. But let me tell them about my extra vote. Bad. I can't say a good thing about it. I expect more of her. And now Drea is a target. She's already a beast. That already puts a little bit of a target on her back. And now that half of the tribe that's not her know about her advantage. Oh, I'm worried for her, but I'm keeping her at a 5 because I believe in her, at least.
I have her at a 6. I know she had a misstep, a pretty bad misstep in this episode with telling people, and it was turned around. But I still think that she's going to be in a pretty good spot. And I think it's easy to have that reaction as, oh, extra vote, like we need to get him out. But specifically this being kind of one of the weaker tribes, I think they need her because she's great in challenges. And if the other two girls flip, I don't know if Romeo and Roxroy are really going to flip on her too. I still think she's in a pretty decent spot and can work her way out of it.
Very, very fair. That alliance of 3 is still there as far as we know. We haven't seen any indication it's gone. But alas, the second member of that alliance is good old Roxroy. What do you have to say about Roxroy?
Well, we didn't see much of Roxroy other than him getting hit in the nuts, so there's that. I'd still have him at a 4. I think he had, a rough first episode where, he was being too bossy. We didn't see anything positive or negative really about him in this episode. So I'd still say he may be one of, if, they were to lose, he, to me, would still be the person that I would predict going home based upon nothing else happening, but not drop him lower than a 4 because I haven't given up on it either. You were muted, Alex.
Yes. You're back to being correct in your ratings. I have him at a 4 as well. He's not loved by his tribe. That's simply one thing I got out of Zach's interview last week was that he said the best 30 minutes of the game was when Roxroy went off for a confessional. That's not a good sign because it wasn't only Zach who thought that. He's in the alliance of 3, supposedly. But I don't think his tribe I don't think they like him that much. And when you're on a small tribe, anybody rubbing you the wrong way is an easy way to get rid of him. And so I'm worried for Roxroy. We get one moment of him at camp, and it's him basically being the dad of Drea, move. Not even learning how to say things with grace. It's I'm still the older guy. So I'm worried about him. But he's still in the game, and he's in the spot, so I'll give him a 4. All right. Next up is the last member of this supposed alliance, and that's Romeo. And I don't know whether to give Romeo a bump by Drea going down. I think I'm gonna give him a little bit of a bump. I'm gonna put him at a 6 for right now. He's in a good spot. No one wants to get rid of him, and he's aware of what's going on, I think. So I don't have much else to say about him. Dan, what about you?
Because not really having much to say about him, that's why I'd put him at a 5. I don't think he's in danger of going home if they were to lose, but I also don't think that he's necessarily would be driving the vote either. I don't know. I don't really have much to say either way, I guess is all. And so I'd just keep him at a 5.
Yeah, I think he'd have a little bit of control, but not a ton. I'm with you. And for a game that he's playing, I don't want him to have too much control. Another person I don't want having too much control, but could without people knowing it, is Swathi. Swathi's impressed me yet again. I'm going up to a 6 on her. She's in a good spot. She's being approached for alliances. I think the fact that she's the one outwardly targeting Drea may come back to bite her. Because Tori can say, hey, Swathi brought it up, not me. That's the only thing I worry about. But Swathi can keep a hold that she has. I don't see why she's going home.
Yeah, I have her as 6 as well. I think so far she's playing a pretty good game. Kind of like everyone else, we haven't seen a ton of it, but I think I've seen enough to bump her up, past that median of a 5. And I think she's someone that she's one of the people that I'm really interested in watching as the season goes, because I think there definitely is potential there.
All right. And last but not least, the woman I gave a 2 to last week, I think I'm going to double her score, and that's Tori. Giving Tori a 4 based on the fact of there's light at the end of the tunnel for her now. She's not guaranteed to go home next. Still not playing a great game, but she's being talked to. She's not completely on the outs. So giving her a 4 for that. But if this tribe goes to travel, it's her or Roxroy almost certainly, and more likely her, I would say. What about you?
Yeah, I have her at a 4 as well. I think she's someone that can continue to rise. She obviously had a rough first episode and some missteps, but I think she is someone that if she's able to survive a little bit longer and get a footing in the game, I think time is going to be her best friend right now. It's not going to tribal and just letting her kind of develop some of those relationships. And I think she'll be able to pull herself more out of the hole. But I'm not as worried for her after episode 2 as I was after 1.
Yeah, I don't need to rant about how bad a game Tori is playing right now, so I'm impressed. And again, she's entertaining. I'm glad she's here. And I hope she makes it far, because I think, again, she's great entertainment, and I want to see her game improve like it did when she played Sequester. All right. Now to the tribe that lost a member, that's Taku. Why don't you start with Jonathan, Dan?
I have Jonathan at a 6. I think he is in a pretty good spot. I think one of his other things is that he's very self-aware that he's the largest guy out there. And I think that's why he's making comments of, oh, there's more to just, tribe strength and brawn. And I think, it comes down to the self-awareness, is he has more of that than you generally see from people with that size. And so I'm liking what he's bringing to the table so far.
Yeah, I'm with you there, actually. I didn't expect to give Jonathan that high a score the whole season. Honestly, I was really down on him, but he's very self-aware. He's not at a point where he wants to win every challenge yet. He's pretty much, now that Mariah's gone, he's in a good position with pretty much everybody on his tribe. I'm overall happy. So that's why I'm at a 6 for him. But the person that is probably the most purple on this cast, maybe, might be actually Lindsay. We don't have much from Lindsay. I'm giving her a 5 because I don't have much of anything to go off of. And that's really it. What about you?
Yeah, that's all I have too, because we don't have anything. I'm kind of hoping I'm right that it's actually more of a 3 between Jonathan, Omar, and her, but we haven't seen anything to really indicate that yet. And nothing good to say, nothing bad to say, so she stays at a 5.
All right. Our next person I'm also going to give a 5 to, but for very different reasons. That's Marianne. And the reason being, I think there's a lot of good and a lot of bad with Marianne's game right now. She's very, very likable. Her tribe really cares about her. She's got a very good social game. I think she's got a good mind for the game. The bad is that she can get very annoying. Her tribe looks like there are going to be moments where they just don't want to deal with her. They know how much she's thinking about the game. That's not a great thing. And she almost, if Mariah's shot in the dark worked, Marianne's probably gone. But I think Marianne can get out of it. Although I don't love her chances. You know what? I'm going to bump her down to a 4 for that reason. If this 3 is what I think it is and what you think it is, she may be going home next. But she's not that bad of a spot as you might think.
Yeah, I'd have her at a 5. I mean, it's for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. I think that she's someone who I think she's in trouble if they go to a tribal, in the next episode or 2. But she's also someone that I'd be really interested in. I hope we get to see play into the merge, because I think I just love to see how everyone else would take Marianne with all of her positivity, whether that's more good or bad. But I'm hopeful. I hope she stays around because I think she's good to see on the screen. But because of, you have to weigh the pros and cons to keep her rated a 5.
All right. The reason I bumped Marianne down is because I think she needs to be the lowest score on this tribe. But our last person, certainly not least, is Omar. What do you think of Omar, Dan?
I am impressed with Omar. I think he's playing a pretty good game from what we can see. You can see that, he's developing the relationships. There are people coming and talking to him, which is always a good sign. I want to give him a 7, but I think I'm going to keep him at a 6 for right now. But I think that he's another one that has some good upside, and I'm interested to see what his next moves are.
Yeah, my notes on Omar are that he has a good head on his shoulders, and I think that's really where I can say with him. He's got a good mind for the game. His tribe all likes him. He's, I think, got this meat shield in Jonathan that I think will really help him. And even if it's just him and Jonathan, that's half the tribe right now, and I think they can get Lindsay rather easily. So So I think he's in a good spot. I don't see anyone turning on him right now. And that's why I'm going to have him at a 6. I noticed after all this, you have given one person a 7. I have as well, although we gave it to Alliance members, much like you and I would be. But overall, this group, very middle of the pack so far still. I don't think we've gotten anything from anyone that is really good or bad.
Yeah, because I think it can still go in a lot of different directions where I think there's people that have, I think there's a lot of people that have upside on this cast.
Yep.
But I also think that there's a few that can dig themselves in a hole. And I still think it's too early to go too high or too low on anyone because, yeah, it's just too early.
I'm with you there. I really am. And I'm really looking forward to where the season goes because I want there to be more separation with these players. I really do. We had it a little bit with Tori last week, but Tori's picked herself up. Yeah, no one's really made a big name for themselves either way. If Daniel's move works, I'll be very impressed. We shall see. Do you want to ask you before we go, who's going home next? And do you have an updated winner pick?
So going home next, I'm going to say Roxroy.
Okay.
I think he's who goes next. And yeah, I no longer think my winner pick is Jenny.
No.
Yeah,
Have some faith.
No, I think for right now, I'm actually gonna go Omar.
Okay. All right. I think we're in agreement that Ika is going to lose next. I said Tori last time. I think it's going to be Roxroy, actually. I'm with you there. But I'm keeping my winner pick that I made preseason, which means it counts, of Chanel. So we shall see what happens. Anything more on this episode, Dan, before we wrap up?
No, I think just touching on the cast is I mean, I think it's very good, but I'm really impressed with the women on this cast. I think a lot of them have a ton of upside, and I think it's going to be more of a woman-dominated season.
Oh, those are famous last words, but I hope you are right. I'd love to get another female winner, but once we ask for things, we don't get them, so not going to jinx anything or anybody. All right.
Fair enough.
All right. Want to take us home?
Yeah. So the best way to support the podcast is become a patron. You can do that at adfreensfw.com. It gets you added to the secret Facebook group, and we have a great community going on there. You know, Johnny, Matt, all of them are very involved. It's how I first got to know about the podcast, and why I'm here now is because I became a patron. So that's adfreensfw.com if you want to do that. If you're looking for more Survivor coverage, as always, right after the episode airs on Wednesday, you have the live reaction show that is Johnny Fairplay, Matt Bischoff, and Alex Triaz. And then if you're looking for even more Survivor coverage outside of that, on Monday nights, there's a new podcast called Ladies Night that is hosted by Lauren and Sarah. I was surprisingly their first guest last week. They're going to bigger and better things this week as they have Brian from Guatemala. And that's going to be dropping every Monday night. So keep an eye on that, because as far as I'm aware, that is one of the only all-female-led Survivor podcasts. If you're looking for Big Brother coverage, you have that with Brent and Bobby on Wednesdays. That normally comes on right before Johnny, Matt, and Alex go on the live show. And then if you are covering or watching this season of Australian Survivor, Johnny is covering that every week. I was just on with him over the weekend discussing last week's 2 episodes. This week on Tuesday morning, it'll be himself with patron Karen Coleman, and myself will be talking about the 2 episodes that just happened. And if you are looking for live events, Johnny is doing plenty of those throughout the season. His next one is going to be on Nashville on April 20th. So 420, Johnny Fairplay live show, Nashville. if you're there, I'm sure it'll be a great time. You can get that at survivortix.com, Survivor TIX. And I know he's going to be having other live events throughout the season. I believe later in April, he will be in Durham, North Carolina. So for the 3 people that enjoy me, I will actually be there as well. You can come tell me you love me or tell me to fuck off. Either way, that's cool. But
No
Johnny
one
will
told
be,
Dan to fuck off. Please,
but there will be
There are
plenty
much better
of
people
live
than that.
events that Johnny will be having throughout the rest of the season. So keep an eye on that. Those shows are a lot of fun. You get to talk with Johnny. He makes sure to come around and talk with everyone, as well as there are always surprise former castaways that come.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we are ready to go.
You forgot one thing, Dan. We're going to be back next week as well.
Well, that is true, but I assumed they were listening. They just assumed that this one would be back. That is my fault.
We'll be back sometime next weekend, and nothing confirmed yet, but it's looking like a famous Survivor player has been in my DMs during this recording. So we may have someone next week. And yeah, thank you, Dan.
Appreciate it, Alex.
All right, always a pleasure. All right, have a good one, everyone.
All right,
Bye-bye.
see ya.
And for more reality NSFW content, visit adfreenSFW.com.